So what if Roman Reigns were to turn babyface? What would that look like? Who would his opponents be? When could this happen? Would it happen? Well, Anthony DeMarco are here tonight to discuss all of that and so much more. This is just a great conversation. We really dove into every avenue of what this would look like and when we think it could happen. So buckle up, guys. Great show coming. Let's get everything going right after this. So if you guys don't know who Austin Cook is, he's a national U.S. champion in judo. He is a U.S. Open champion, a World Cup medalist, and he just launched his own YouTube channel. It's called Bad Boy Medicine. And right now there's a promo video up there. It's only a minute long and it's already got over 10,000 views. And there's going to be a lot more content coming. For example, he is going to be interviewing UFC champion Murilo Bustamante. So that's going to be going on the YouTube channel. Of course, on Instagram, you can also follow him at Bad Boy Medicine. Go check out the promo video as well. This is a YouTube channel that's going to grow very quickly, guys. Again, it's Bad Boy Medicine. So if you love combat sports and performance medicine, you're not going to want to miss this. So subscribe right now to Bad Boy Medicine.
It's time to explore wrestling's past and potential future with your weekly dose of a segment we call What If? Only found here on the WWE Podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast here on this Monday, October 18th. 2021. Thank you so much for joining me, and Anthony will be with me in just a moment as we covered the what if Roman Reigns turned babyface. Very interesting topic, fascinating topic, realistic topic. So that'll be coming to you in just a second. But first, I want to thank you for joining me here on the WWE Podcast as we continue to grow. I want to say thank you to everybody who's been supportive of this show, and it does help us out when you subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you want to go ad free, you can do that. Just click on the ad free button. But on Patreon, as a pay-per-view is coming up, you can get yourself in a Discord server. We can chat throughout the show, ad-free everything, because Lord knows the ads are disruptive. I know. I have to listen to them too when I listen to shows, and going ad-free is so worth it. So consider there on Patreon and also on Apple Podcasts. But let's get to Anthony DeMarco and myself, because as I said, this was a really fun conversation to talk about Roman Reigns and what if he turns babyface. More like when. I mean, maybe we should have changed the show to like when Roman Reigns will turn babyface, but we did go through the possibilities and everything that could happen when it does, and it's a blast. So thank you, everybody. I'll be back tomorrow night with a huge show tomorrow night with Raw being reviewed, as well as the preview and prediction show for Crown Jewel. So huge show coming to you tomorrow night in a mega kind of a double show. But until then, guys, thanks so much for listening. I'll talk to you next time. Welcome to What If for this week. It is, as I speak, October 18th, 2021. We got Crown Jewel in just a few days on a bizarre Thursday that I still am trying to wrap my head around in the middle of the day. So most of us will be working during that time, but we're here to talk about What If. And tonight is a topic that, while it seems a little bit far-fetched, most of our topics do, this one is a little more realistic. And we're going to talk about why in just a minute with what if Roman Reigns turned babyface. So, Anthony, welcome to the show, and great topic tonight.
Yeah, man. And you brought it up that it might not even seem far-fetched. And at this point, as we were discussing right before we started recording, it's starting to feel inevitable in a lot of ways. So do you think this will eventually happen sometime in the relatively near future?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be this is a hell of a topic to talk about. I mean, I think it's going to happen in the near future. I guess I'll define near future as within the next calendar year. I mean, that's how I'm going to look at this. I'm going to say no, but I'm not very confident in that. The reason I'm saying no is this reason. They still have The Rock in the pipeline to face Roman Reigns. The latest now is that he's going to face Roman Reigns at next year's WrestleMania in LA at WrestleMania 39. Wrap your mind around that, guys. WrestleMania 30.
Man.
Yeah.
They're pushing it a year now?
Yeah, that is the latest that I've heard from quote-unquote reputable sources. We all know who the big websites are. I'm getting it from there. I'm not getting it from some random Yahoo. So that is the latest. Now, if that's true, That's true. And he's not scheduled for this year because apparently The Rock has a movie schedule going. Apparently he's going to Australia or something during WrestleMania, so he won't be able to commit. That's the latest. Now, again, take that with a grain of salt. But if that's true, that's the reasoning for me saying no, that they can't turn Roman Reigns babyface during that time, because you're going to have The Rock on deck. You're not going to want to make The Rock the heel. I mean, I guess, of course, you could turn him babyface and then turn Roman back heels for when The Rock comes back. So there's so many options, and it's 18 months away, right? When you look at WrestleMania 39, that's 18 months. That's a hell of a long time. I mean, so I guess now that I said that out loud, I think in the next 18 months, it's possible, but again, then you'd have to turn him back babyface for the or heel for The Rock to challenge him. So, dang, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, now that you're saying that, obviously I would default to saying no, they would have to keep him heel. But do you not think, because at that point it would be how many months that Roman would be on a heel run, like 30 to get to WrestleMania 39? So, like, would the heat still even be the same for Roman Reigns? Would the storyline be still as engaging 30 months later into that storyline? I hope my math is correct, but it would be 2.5 years. But so in my mind, I'm saying you could try and stretch it all the way to WrestleMania 39, but as great as the whole Bloodline storyline is, you'd have to think that it would eventually just start to kind of wear on fans, and they would have to shift it regardless of The Rock coming back. So in my mind, I'm kind of saying, what if they turned him babyface and then they angled towards a babyface versus babyface main event like they did with Cena and Rock? Do you think that's a possibility?
Definitely a possibility. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to get him to that level, though, where the fans truly view him as a babyface and The Rock as a babyface, and I think they would. I mean, The Rock is beloved, but to have him in the Roman in that spot where the fans say, man, yeah, he's on equal footing in terms of babyface as The Rock is, they've got a lot of work to do, without the risk of, or at least mitigating the risk of Roman still getting booed even as a babyface, because I still don't trust WWE in the Roman Reigns babyface structure. I don't trust them. I know that what he's doing right now is working awesome. We all know that, but it's because he's a heel and he's just able to essentially be himself, it feels like. And I just don't trust them with Roman Reigns being a babyface, and for them to construct that correctly, for them to not just have the fans turn on it and say, no, this is not the babyface Roman we want, and then organically turn him back heel. The fans are like, no, screw this. This is not the Roman Reigns we want. It's so fascinating to think about, of all the things that could happen. My distrust with them creating a mega babyface is very low, because at times they just seem to not understand what makes a babyface so great. And right now, Roman Reigns is doing so well as a heel. As you and I talked quickly before we started the show, he's starting to already get cheers from the crowd, and not just the women and children that were cheering him before. Rather, it's even the males in our demographic that are starting to kind of come around, like, all right, we've had our time to hate you. Could this be a pattern? Could this be an organic uprising and an organic movement for Roman Reigns to turn babyface? That's one question. But the other is, do you trust WWE to really make it work?
Well, that's the whole thing, right? And the way that he's organically starting to get over as almost like a babyface because he's just so damn cool, is it not eerily similar to how The Rock just organically started to become a babyface in 1999, where the crowd just found him so cool? And it's just like, it's so crazy to think that it took Vince McMahon this long to go back to a formula that has worked for him so many times, of letting the crowd hate a character, an elite character like Roman Reigns, and then letting the organic change take its course of action. So I guess I would ask, because we're already starting to see the organic change of the fans starting to get behind Roman Reigns, how much longer do you think they could keep going down the road with Roman Reigns as a full-blown heel before fans just start saying, no, we don't want to hate you anymore. This is our guy, kind of like they did with Becky Lynch 3 or 4 years ago?
It's hard to put a time frame on that. Now, again, barring WWE and once they decide to turn him babyface, of how they're going to manage it, are they going to screw it up? Which honestly, when you turn him babyface, I really wouldn't alter anything about him. Very little would change for me, and that's the whole point. But suddenly he's got to smile and be a defending champion, all this stuff. That's, I think, one of the biggest downfalls of WWE when they create a babyface is that to feel good stuff. But I think that right now it's hard to put a time on when that can happen. Again, we're already hearing the cheers. If that's a pattern, we're going to have to listen. Keep an ear out. I throw Saudi Arabia out the door. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way with the fans there, but they aren't the typical crowd. They aren't the mainstream foundation audience that WWE has. So whatever they react to, I'm honestly going to throw it right out the window because it doesn't matter, because they're there once a year. And whatever they do, they do. I mean, they made Mansoor a hometown hero, of which he gets crickets everywhere he goes, right? So just because he's from there. But, when I look ahead, I think that we need to be very, I guess, conscientious of when he drops the belt, when he drops the Universal Championship, which God knows when that will be. I mean, really, we could be talking about this a year from now. It's possible. It's possible a year from now. Imagine that Roman Reigns still Universal Champion. There's a chance, and maybe he goes all the way to WrestleMania 39 until The Rock finally takes him out. That is a long shot, but it is still a possibility. The thing is, as we just have been talking about, is how do you keep that momentum going as a heel? The bloodline thing will run its course. You're going to have to come up with something new for him to do, whether it's a different stable of guys, whether it's even more vicious, dive deeper into that heel character, double down, whatever they're going to have to do. They're going to have a crossroads fairly soon of, when I say fairly soon, 6 months maybe, of when this bloodline thing's going to run its course, and the fans are going to go, okay, so is he turning babyface? Because we're ready. And that's when WWE is going to have to say, all right, we need to make a decision, right? Are we going to go with this, or are we going to double down on what has made him the biggest star in the entire company and continuing to turn him and make him heel? So I think that even WWE, even if they hear those cheers, and they're already starting to, are going to have a hard time really committing to, all right, let's do it. Because the fact that the fans are doing that doesn't mean that when WWE latches on and agrees and pushes him as the babyface that it's going to work. I think that if I was WWE, I would get every last ounce of him being a heel out of his system before turning him babyface. Get all the fans to boo him like they've been wanting to for many years. Try everything that you can. Try different things. Once the bloodline thing runs its course and the dynamic has to shift, try different stuff. Do everything you can right now, because you may not get another opportunity to turn Roman Reigns heel. And so to put a time frame on it, 6 months, I would say around WrestleMania could be a big turning point if he drops the belt right then. We'll see.
Well, that's the whole thing, because I think Drew McIntyre going to SmackDown, and now you saying that The Rock won't be coming for Roman Reigns for at least another 12 to 18 months. I think it's a pretty fair slam dunk to say that we'll get Drew versus Roman at this year's WrestleMania. If they don't at this point, I'd be absolutely shocked. But if they're going down that road, you would have to think that they keep Roman heel at least until then, unless they turn Drew into a heel. But I wouldn't really see that at this point in time. So if that's the case, would they turn Roman right after defeating Drew? Would they do a double turn at WrestleMania? There's so many possibilities here, but I feel as though as long as Drew McIntyre is on the same brand as Roman, they won't turn Roman heel, because I think Vince McMahon wants Drew to be on the level of Roman Reigns. Do you get that sense as well, that they want to present Drew McIntyre on equal footing as Roman?
Oh, no doubt. I mean, look what he did to win the belt at the quietest WrestleMania of all time. He beat Brock Lesnar clean, flat out. He was unbeatable for how many months? He was in the conversation for the WWE Championship for 18 months, and the fans finally were like, "Okay, we're done with this. Find a new guy to do this." And I think the fans started to turn on him. They got real close to turning on him, very, very close. And some still have that feeling, and I think he will get booed a little bit at Crown Jewel. Although, again, I just said throw out the reaction for Crown Jewel, given the fans and how often they're there. But yes, I think that with Drew McIntyre on SmackDown, you're going to have Vince McMahon try to push Drew McIntyre as a babyface, and they're going to have Roman Reigns as that heel. So you're going to have the yin to the yang there. I mean, you got to have your top guy as a babyface and the top guy as a heel. And everyone's thinking, when are they going to clash? When is it going to happen? So I think simplistically, you do have just a babyface Drew versus a heel Roman. Now, does it happen at Mania? Does it happen at Rumble? Does it happen at Survivor Series? God help me if it happens at Survivor Series. I mean, I'm still a year later pissed that they did it last year. So I think that's the WrestleMania match main event that Vince is looking to as a backup, or they could do a triple threat with Roman, Brock, and Drew in a triple threat match at WrestleMania. And Roman could retain there with maybe Drew being the guy to take the pinfall. So I think that because Brock Lesnar's not done here, right? Like we have to look at Brock Lesnar as the floating, the floater here who's still looming over SmackDown and Raw. He's a free agent. We still haven't seen Bobby and Brock, which is also rumored to be WrestleMania this year. We'll see. But yeah, it seems a little simplistic, but that's the way I'd go with this right now. I would not want to mess up one of the most successful storylines that WWE has put out in like a decade by just trying to turn him heel or babyface just because I'm starting to hear some reaction positively for him. I would be very hesitant. Somebody would have to make a hell of a case for me if I'm the decision maker to turn Roman babyface within the next 6 to 12 months. Like I wouldn't do it until The Rock comes back, whenever that is. After The Rock gets through with Roman, perhaps you start to consider turning him heel or babyface rather. So but that's me.
Do you think that you run the risk of having the bloodline angle getting stale if you push it all the way for another 12 to 18 months? Because as we said, it's the best thing going in WWE right now. It's arguably the best storyline they've had in the last 5 years. But do you think that there may be kind of a watered down effect if we push it for all the way until 2023, let's say?
Oh God, yeah. And don't forget too, we'd have another draft by then too. So I don't know if the Usos would survive that or Roman would survive that. Maybe Roman goes to Raw, the Usos stay on SmackDown. I mean, there's so much that can happen between then. Of course, injuries are also one of the threats out there. I don't think that a year from now we'll still be talking about the Usos with Roman. I think they need to change it up, even if it's still him staying heel, and I think he should. There should be some new dynamic, something, right? And of course, Paul Heyman is also a factor here. Where do his loyalties lie? We'll find out, at least in part, on Thursday. But I don't think you're going to be looking at the bloodline as it currently stands right now, 12 months from now. Something will be different. A new member, at least, maybe it's just somebody new. Maybe it's a new member to the bloodline. Hell, maybe it's Brock Lesnar who joins Roman Reigns. I've always said that I'd love to see Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns together, going on an absolute just two-man power trip, as I've said, and just destroying the WWE where no one can control them. They're even invading Raw. Like I think it's a hell of a storyline. In that case, I'd be cool with the brand split not being taken seriously, only for them who can't be controlled. Security's trying to get at them. No one can stop them. And you'd have to have two baby faces and end up stepping up. I don't know who those people are, but short answer is, yeah, I don't think everything's going to look the same 12 months from now in terms of bloodline.
Well, you bring up Paul Heyman, and he's kind of almost like the X factor in all this, because historically, whenever Paul Heyman is aligned with someone, they are a de facto heel. And I think a lot of people forget that in late 2002, early 2003, they actually took Paul Heyman away from Brock Lesnar when he was being established as the main event level babyface. And they wanted to get Kurt Angle over as the big time level heel on SmackDown as the champion. And he hired Paul Heyman as his manager. So I think that as long as Paul Heyman is affiliated with Roman Reigns, and I believe that they're going to push this for a while, I do think when all is said and done at Crown Jewel, Paul Heyman's loyalty will lie with Roman Reigns just because of the Bloodline t-shirt. Like, I feel like if it was a short-term plan with Paul Heyman, they wouldn't have put his face on that t-shirt, because I think, and I believe you said this, that shirt is going to become iconic with the entire run of the Bloodline, the one we're currently seeing right now. So I would have to think that when they are ready to turn Roman babyface, they would be completely done with Paul Heyman being at his side. And I just don't think that they're there yet. I truly don't, because of the t-shirt. And now that they've added this wrinkle of, is he truly aligned with the bloodline, or is he playing a double agent with Brock Lesnar? I think that's a wrinkle in the storyline to, just prolong and develop the relationship between Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. So do you not think that they would have to get everything out of the Heyman Reigns relationship before they would have to turn Roman heel, babyface?
You're listening to the WWE Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hey guys, so I don't do a whole lot of GoFundMe advertisements on this show, but when I find one that actually is, I think, worthwhile asking you guys to contribute, I share it with you. And this is one right now that I think it's worth letting you know about. And so let me give you the description of this, and I'll let you know where you can find this page, which is actually at GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. So that is the website. It's GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. So let me give you the backstory of this, and then you guys can go ahead and check it out. And this is the description of it. It says, have you ever witnessed an ambitious girl achieve her goals? Someone who had to grow up in adversity, but was able to turn her life around and fulfill her dreams. I am that girl. My name is Natalie. I'm a 28-year-old African-American girl from New Jersey, and I'm on my way to achieving my dreams. I want to share a bit of my backstory so you can see how important this campaign is to me. I lost my mother to health issues at 1 year old, and my father has not been in my life since I was 10. He was a drug addict, and his addiction didn't allow him to be present in my life. At 18, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I had to leave college my freshman year because of it. The disease hindered me from being able to manage my life and sent me through all types of pain and suffering. With no parent, no role model, no support, and existing health problems, I was left to pave my own way in life. Despite the circumstances I've had to face and continue to face, I've always been very optimistic and had faith that I was capable of pursuing my dreams no matter what anyone thought or said. I was always that girl who had conviction in myself and my abilities. I knew I would persevere and be triumphant. Now at 28 years old, she's on her way to fulfilling her dreams. She launched a GoFundMe campaign to start her own cleaning business. And she's always been a great cleaner. She enjoys cleaning. It's a perfect business. It's really been a lifelong dream of hers. So her goal is this, guys, to boil it down. She'd like to launch her cleaning business, which will be based in South New Jersey. Her cleaning business will serve residential and commercial clients in the tri-state area. So I'd really, really recommend that you go check this out. Help out Natalie. Again, it's GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. Go read the description for yourself and consider donating if you can. So if you guys don't know who Austin Cook is, he's a national U.S. champion in judo. He is a U.S. Open champion, a World Cup medalist, and he just launched his own YouTube channel. It's called Bad Boy Medicine. And right now there's a promo video up there. It's only a minute long, and it's already got over 10,000 views. And there's going to be a lot more content coming. For example, he is going to be interviewing UFC champion Murilo Bustamante. So that's going to be going on the YouTube channel. Of course, on Instagram, you can also follow him at Bad Boy Medicine. Go check out the promo video as well. This is a YouTube channel that's going to grow very quickly, guys. Again, it's Bad Boy Medicine. So if you love combat sports and performance medicine, you're not going to want to miss this. So subscribe right now to Bad Boy Medicine.
Welcome back to the WWE Podcast. Let's get back to more great wrestling audio.
Yes, they would. They should, because Paul Heyman is an invaluable asset. He is a guy that is a once-in-a-generation manager. I mean, he is the Bobby Heenan of today. He is the Jimmy Hart, the mouth of the South. Like, he is that guy, but I'd argue even better in some ways. He's a guy that is so rare to find in his position that you won't really realize the magnitude of his position and how good he is until he's no longer there. And so my point is, yes, you need to have everything out of that you can possibly conceive realistically between Roman and Heyman. You want everything out of that. Maximize every minute you have with Paul Heyman and Roman Reigns. Just like maximizing everything with the bloodline and everything out of Roman Reigns' heel turn. The reason I'm saying all that is because you may not get another opportunity here. Once Vince gets a taste of Roman as a babyface again, he is going to be like a wolf chasing a deer. I mean, like, he is going to smell blood. He's going to be a shark, and he is not going to let go of that babyface run, because he'll be like, finally, I'm doing this. I'm never turning him back heel again. I'm going to show you what I have been envisioning for him all this time, and it's time. So this is it. Like, whoever convinced Vince to do this is probably, the employee of the month, or employee of the year right now. They probably have a plaque up at WWE headquarters. If it's just, I don't know, maybe it's probably not one person, but who knows? Maybe Vince will probably put a plaque of himself saying he thought of it, But my point is that you want everything out of this, because I really don't know if you'll ever see Roman heel again once Vince gets a taste of him as a babyface, the role that Vince has always wanted him in.
Do you think that once Roman Reigns turns babyface, it will be so successful that he will be considered among the all-time greats in the industry, like Rock and Austin and Cena?
I think he might already kind of be there, and not
Wow.
not quite. I would say that, I mean, he's not on the level of Stone Cold or The Rock yet. I mean, that's the top of the top of the top. Like, there's the tippy top where you have Hogan, you have Rock, you have Undertaker, you have Austin and Flair, arguably. And then you have that next tier down where there's like Kurt Angle. I mean, I know I'm probably pissing some people off, like, but you again, Triple H, Roman, I think, is in that category. I think he's still below the top tier, but he is
like with like the HBKs of the world.
Yeah, exactly. HBK, who I know a lot of people think that he's on the Mount Rushmore. Again, this is all so subjective, right? Like, it's so difficult to make this analogy, because some people are like, what are you talking about? HBK's not on the top, right? It's just the way it goes. But my point is, he's kind of that level underneath the tippy top, whoever the hell you put up there. In my mind, he's not there yet, but he's on his way there. And do I think he's going to be a super successful babyface? I think he has a 100-fold chance of being a much better babyface than when he was forced as that babyface. That was the most one-dimensional video game character that we've ever seen as a babyface, the most manufactured corporate creation ever, which is one of the big reasons the fans, especially of our demographic, completely rejected him. But again, I'm so afraid of them turning him babyface, because when something works, when something organically works in WWE, Vince goes, I'm going to make it even better. And sometimes he'll just F it up. And once they get their claws into it, Vince puts his fingerprints on it, it becomes worse. And it's like, you almost want it to fly under the radar so that Vince doesn't notice, because sometimes it's better if he doesn't notice. But I think that it has a good chance, a really good chance of succeeding, but they really need to flesh it out and think about what they're going to do with the character from transitioning from heel to babyface. You don't want him suddenly being the guy he was before. He can't be. If he puts the tactical vest back on and starts coming through the crowd again, I will shut down this podcast. Like, I mean, that would be one of the most ridiculous things. So to me, it should not be a big shift. I wouldn't want him coming out smiling and coming out, hugging, babies and all that. He should be the exact same guy he is now, but the fans have a reason to sympathize with him. Maybe he had a bust-ass hell of a match and got screwed by somebody you hate more in a match, and he lost the championship. Maybe he got beat down in a way that was just so brutal that it makes you feel sympathy for him, makes you feel emotional towards that character. Even though he's a heel, that's one of the ways that you turn him. And so if you create that sympathy towards his character, you already have the respect. So you have the respect of him being a heel for so long, and the fans are like, finally, you did it. You've shown us how great you can be. This is a step you missed the first time around. So you have all that time, maybe a year or 2 years of that. Then you have the sympathy factor of him getting beat down in a matchup, or losing the title in some kind of way that makes you just want to see Roman beat the holy hell out of whoever it is. I mean, they could do it. They really could do it. But again, the follow-up is, and this is the last thing I'll say on this, and I'll toss it to you, is that they need to make sure that they don't just flip his character into this like like completely 180 his character, where he's just complimenting the fans and he's smiling, and he's like, I could see them doing that. I want him to be the exact same guy, because that's what the fans are cheering for now. So why wouldn't it work as a babyface?
No, I agree 100%. And the thing is that Roman is so concise with what he says. I don't even think that they would have to do too much to alter his character to get him over as a babyface. Because, like, as you said, it would just be something as simple as, him maybe making the save for Drew McIntyre or something, or getting really screwed over as a heel. Just an action as opposed to changing his character and his antics and whatnot and his behavior. But another thing that I can't help but noticing is that his rivalry with Brock Lesnar, and I think it's becoming that much better because they've both characters have gone through such evolutions over the course of the time they first fought in 2015, even on Brock's side. But that promo that Roman cut, where like he called Brock like a farmer, and he's just like, "You must be really dumb, eh?" And the visual of those two standing off was just amazing. And I remember thinking to myself, like, it's crazy how many times these two have gone toe to toe, but it still feels fresh because of the character development. And I'm starting to think, obviously not on that level, but do you think like Brock versus Roman is like the Austin versus Rock of this generation?
It's really hard to make that kind of analogy because of how awesome The Rock and Austin were. I know what you mean. And yes, this is the closest to The Rock Austin, I believe, of this generation, at least in terms of star power. Now, people may argue that their matches aren't as good as, say, Finn Balor or somebody like that, right? Like, I get that. But in terms of star power, which will always be the biggest factor in drawing ratings and money, I don't care how great of a match you have. To me, star power matters more than anything. It matters more in every other professional sport. Star power, star power, star power. Even if the match itself isn't as great as the undercard. But yeah, I think it is. I think it is the Rock Austin of our generation. It's as close anyways. We'll get to it. And, Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, that is really funny you brought that up, because I said that on my show last night that I actually laughed out loud when Roman was standing there. He was standing there and Brock was signing the contract, not even looking at the contract. And Roman looked at him, picked up the mic, and was like, "Are you some kind of dumbass?" Like, I mean, it was hilarious because it felt so genuine, that he's just this big dumb farmer that Roman Reigns believes he is, and just the way he said it, it felt like he would actually say that backstage. That's what's so great, is the authenticity of him being a heel, and we all knew it was there. He just feels like he's being himself. Same with Brock. I mean, Brock's a guy that just comes in there. He doesn't like anybody. He's there for the money, but I don't care. I find that hilarious. I find it absolutely hilarious that he comes in there and Vince gives him millions of dollars to come in there, sign a contract, put his feet up on a table and leave and get back on a plane. And now I know he's going to Saudi Arabia, but he'll have several more zeros on a check for that. So Brock Lesnar has got it made in the sun, man. But these two guys, I don't think Crown Jewel is the last time you're going to see them in a ring. I think this is the beginning of maybe a 2 or 3 match program for 21 into 2022 that could end up culminating at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas. If The Rock's not ready to go, as I said, it could be a triple threat with Drew and Roman and Brock. That's my prediction right now if The Rock doesn't show up.
Do you think that Roman turning babyface would kind of bury Drew McIntyre in terms of his stature within the company?
No, because, I think it's time for Drew to maybe go heel. I mean, I'm ready for a Drew heel turn. I wouldn't hate it if he stays babyface. I think it's fine, and I think there's still a little bit of juice left to squeeze out of that. But, I mean, I've seen Drew as a babyface for a while now. Really, his crowning moment that to me solidified him as a babyface was him eliminating Brock Lesnar, of all people, from the Rumble in 2020 when the crowd went berserk. And that's when they were like, all right, he's our guy, let's go. And now we're rolling into 2022 shortly, and it'll be a couple of years since he's been that bad guy. So I'm ready for Drew to actually turn heel. I mean, Drew has shown he can be a really good heel. And I'm cool with it. Drew can play both. If they want to keep him babyface, that's fine. But I think freshening Drew up to a heel would be a lot more fun. The thing is, they ain't going to do it right now. And they're not going to probably do it for a while with Roman on SmackDown being the heel. They're not likely going to touch that for hopefully a while. But with Drew there, you can't have Drew as a heel, because then who's your top babyface? Not Seth. Seth is another mega heel on SmackDown. So they've got right now a babyface star power problem, especially with the women, but that's another topic.
Yeah, it's insane to me how hard building babyfaces has been for them. And I look at like the biggest stars they have in the company right now, Roman, Brock, and Seth. And now you can make the case that Brock is a babyface right now, although we haven't had an official babyface turn, I guess per se. And he is a part-timer, but I just find it absolutely incredible how hard of a time they've had developing baby faces. Like, imagine at one time they had John Cena, Kurt Angle, Batista, The Undertaker, like all like main event level baby faces. And now it's kind of like, aside from Brock Lesnar, you have Drew, who is like barely a main eventer, I would say, at this point of his career. And by main eventer, I don't mean like main eventing like TLC or something. I mean a guy of like main eventing a WrestleMania type of level of a baby face. And I just think getting Roman onto that side would be so beneficial, because you look at the heels. You have Seth Rollins, who in my mind is good enough to be the biggest heel in the company. You still have Bobby Lashley lurking as a big time heel. Brock is, just de facto and kind of made to be a heel. And you have several other guys who could probably push their way up as main event level heels. And I mean, I guess they're trying to push Big E as the main event level babyface over on Monday Night Raw, but he's not even close to the level that like Roman Reigns is, or even Seth Rollins for that matter. So, I mean, when you look at all the big time heels on the roster, both Raw and SmackDown, do you think that maybe it would be arguably more beneficial, providing they do it right, to make Roman a babyface?
I think there's a case to be made. Now, I just said there'd have to be a great scenario for Roman to turn babyface. If I was the decision maker, you'd have to make a hell of a case. I mean, just absolutely hit a grand slam with your proposal to me. But given everything that you just said, I mean, that would be, if I was arguing for it, that would be one of the foundational pieces I would say is, look, guys, look at our roster, right? Like, we have got some really, really good heels, right? You've got Bobby Lashley. You've got Seth Rollins, who's on there. Brock Lesnar could go back and forth. Brock could be either one. You've got really top level talent that are heels. And so where's our baby faces? Where are the baby faces at, right? Like, there are so few. And yes, you have Edge, but Edge is a part-timer. Excellent baby face. I'd actually love to see a heel run out of him before his career's over. But I think that you'd have to start with that and say, look, why not try this with babyface Roman Reigns, or at least make a test case? This is what I would do if somebody was proposing this to me and I went with it. I would do kind of a test case at a pay-per-view where we put him in a scenario that would potentially get him sympathy from the crowd. The scenario you just laid out, maybe doing a run-in to save another babyface, or getting beat down, or even cheated out of a championship, clearly cheated it out of one, and you create a scenario like that. I would see how the crowd reacts. If the crowd ends up, cheering that Roman got screwed out of the championship, say, for example, then I'd go, okay, that didn't work. So I would do a babyface turn without really letting the fans know I'm doing a babyface turn, and you could kind of just go right back to him being as a heel on Friday night. So that's what I would do. I really wouldn't jump completely head first and go, this is where we're going no matter how the crowd reacts. That's what I would do, because they do have a serious babyface problem. But Roman Reigns, I think, has learned a hell of a lot over the last 12 months. I'm sure he's actually getting counseling from Paul Heyman. Like, I mean, he's not just the counsel to the tribal chief. Like, in real life, I'm sure he's getting a ton of information, picking the brain of Paul Heyman. And clearly it's working. I mean, this is the best storyline WWE's pumped out, as I said, in years. So, yeah, I think they could do it. But I would dip my toe in before I jump completely in and derail a storyline that has been one of the best in a long time.
I think one of the biggest positive side effects you would have from turning Roman Reigns babyface, and again, providing they do it right, like you just outlined, would be, I think you could finally go with a Roman Reigns Seth Rollins main event match at a WrestleMania, because I think if they never do Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, and to be honest, they've never really done it on a main event level scale. Like, I know they had the one-on-one match at Money in the Bank in 2016, but aside from that, I don't think they've ever had a one-on-one championship match against one another. So I just think it's absolutely criminal that, given how mega of stars both of them are, that we have never seen Roman versus Seth, even at like a SummerSlam or a Royal Rumble, anything like that. And I just think that it would be criminal if both of these guys saw their primes go by the wayside and they never went head to head, given the history between one another that really speaks for itself. So do you think if Roman Reigns were to turn babyface, that is a program that would absolutely have to happen on a major scale?
Yes. And it's because I never want to see Seth as a babyface again. Never. Like, I'm fine with him staying a heel. That's the difference between him and Roman. And really Drew McIntyre and a lot of other stars is Seth is not good as a babyface. In fact, I'd say he's not good at all. And that's fine, because he's such an extraordinary talent as a heel. I really have seen what they've done with Seth as a babyface. It did not work. It's documented it didn't work. It was a miserable failure for a lot of different reasons that really started at Hell in a Cell, no fault of his own with Bray Wyatt. But then just it didn't work. I know he conquered Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, but the fans didn't care about that. And he really didn't take his career take off until he was with who was it? He turned heel with the tag team. Who was it? Not Authors of Pain.
Yeah, Authors of Pain.
It was Authors of Pain. Okay, I got it right. He was the guy in the truck in like a black suit or whatever. Like, that is when I was like, oh man, we're off to the races. And then he did his whole Messiah thing, and then he kind of didn't know where he was at, and now he's just the visionary, and he's coming out in these ridiculous outfits. I never, ever want to see Seth as a babyface again. I think he should remain a heel forever, and that's fine. He is doing career work right now. Seth is I think he's at the highest level he's ever been at in his career, ever, bar none. Even as champion, Universal Champion, even, whatever, even when he was with the Authority, right now he's at the highest he's ever been, in my opinion, even without a championship. So yes, when Roman and Seth happen, Roman should be the babyface. Seth should be that smarmy, sniveling heel that he is right now. And that would be easily a main event of any pay-per-view, including WrestleMania.
It's just, I think that at this point you would have to go with those two against each other. Like I've said, they really missed the boat with Dean Ambrose versus Roman Reigns 4 years ago, or I guess now it's almost five or 6 years ago now, in 2016 at WrestleMania 32. But this is something they absolutely have to pull the trigger on. And I would make the argument that, part-timers aside, including Edge and Brock and The Rock and Cena, these are the two biggest stars that the company has, is Rollins and Reigns. And I do think that if they were to go head-to-head, it would have to be Roman Reigns as the babyface, because to your point, Seth Rollins is made to be a heel on just so many different levels. And I think that's just something that would be a positive byproduct of Roman turning babyface. And to be honest, I do find it kind of sad in a way that while they were on SmackDown together for the past year, they never really crossed paths. Like, they did a few times where, like, Seth came to the ring and started laughing and then attacked, I believe it was Cesaro, or he got involved in the match against Edge and whatnot, or he had a run-in with the Usos. But they never really tagged with one another, had a match that they were both involved in at the same time. And I get it, because they were both top-level heels, Rollins right under Roman Reigns in the pecking order on SmackDown. But I just feel like there's so much untapped potential between these two beyond just like, oh yeah, let's get the Shield back together for a couple matches that won't mean anything, and then we'll go away. Like, aside from them just reuniting as the Shield, they've never really done anything involving these two guys at the same time.
No, they haven't. They have not done it, and they've kept them separate for a reason. Number one, they're both heels, and what are you going to do? You don't want them joining, because each of them have excellent storylines going on their own. Them joining forces, I think, it would be a net negative. Like, you're going to take away something. And right now they need to stay the hell away from one another, especially as heels with great storylines. But when they do bring them together, it's gonna be awesome because there's so much history there. They have so many video packages and footage that they could draw from to create a WrestleMania storyline that it's really mind-boggling how much they could do with this. And I'm looking forward. I mean, it's inevitable. It's inevitable that these two are gonna eventually have a matchup, and it won't be heel. It has to be Roman as the babyface. I cannot imagine any scenario in which Rollins is the babyface here. I just can't. And I don't think it'll happen maybe in 2022, but if the heel turn's not going to end until after The Rock, I mean, then you're looking at 2023. Honestly, like it's really hard to project out that far. WWE, Vince doesn't even know what he's doing the day of the show. How many times you hear about the script being ripped up an hour before the show starts? So it's projecting out, a week, much less 18 months is really difficult to do. But this is a story that has to happen. It must happen.
Yeah, 100%. And I guess I'm kind of like scarred from them never doing Ambrose versus Reigns. Even when they did Ambrose versus Rollins, they really kind of botched that in the twilight of Ambrose's career with WWE. But I think it would just be, and I know they really want to push Drew against Roman, and I get that. And I love Drew's run as champion, but would you not agree that Rollins is the bigger star than Drew McIntyre?
Right now, yes. And I would have said the opposite last year this time, but that's what happens. Right now, Drew McIntyre is trying to build himself back up, and he was kind of pushed down for a while, but that's fine. That's what he needed. His character needed that desperately. I would have argued he should have just gone away for like 3-4 months. But I think that, yes, Seth Rollins right now, as I said, he's doing career work. He is in the prime of his career. He's at the pinnacle of his career. Probably not the only, but one of the highlights and pinnacles of his career. Certainly in a more relevant program than is Drew McIntyre, who's more concerned. WWE is more concerned about making sure that putting tag teams together that are foes and seeing if they can get along. Can they coexist, right? Like that is WWE's obsession over the last couple of weeks, is putting people together that are foes and inevitably seeing that team break down as if it's some kind of revelation, right? I mean, that's where Drew is right now. I know he's a championship match on Thursday, but I think we all know the complete predictable outcome on that one.
Well, I'm not going to lie. Drew McIntyre walked around with a medieval sword. Like, I get that they're trying to push him as, I don't know, like a Braveheart spinoff type of character, and I could respect that. But I just don't see a realistic scenario as to why he needs that sword. Like, what's he going to do? Stab someone and then pin them for the 1, 2, 3? Like, do you not just kind of find the sword just I don't know. I don't even know how to describe it, but just not supposed to be there.
It's a prop. It's all about presentation. It's all about just for the camera. It's production. It's a play, so to speak, with just that anyway, where, what's he going to do? And if anytime he swings it at somebody, he's going to miss by a mile because that thing's real. I mean, that sword's real. You can tell it's not some kind of makeshift, Toys R Us sword. Like it's the real deal. So he's never going to use it as a weapon. He'll threaten to use it. He'll like point at people, but when it push comes to shove, he's not going to use it ever. It's just a visual that he wanted to add, or Vince wanted to add to his entrance, as if it's supposed to be threatening, when in reality it's about as threatening as bringing a toothbrush to the ring. Like it's not going to do anything. We know that.
Well, like the thing is if you want to bring it out for your entrance, then fine. Wear the kilt, hold the sword, stab it into the fake rock, and then go on your merry way. But like I remember during his program with Jinder Mahal, like where he would be like swinging it at Veer and Shanky. I still can't believe that's their names, but you'd be swinging it at them, and then they would be dodging, and then we were supposed to be like, oh, we almost got them, and I believe, I can't remember who said it, but like it was like on one of these wrestling websites, and they said that you could have had a pretty good program between Ginger and Drew because of their past storylines, but it became about motorcycles and swords, and it really made no sense. And again, I understand the presentation part, and if you want to bring it to the ring for your actual ring entrance, but like I've seen him like walk out in like jeans and like a t-shirt and a leather jacket to like cut a promo, and he just has a sword with him. I'm just like, it doesn't fit sometimes, and I respect what they're doing, but at the same time, I don't see why he has to hold it, just bring it around all the time.
Yeah, I'm sure that must be fun going through TSA with that, right? Like, I mean, going through that must be a lot of fun. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. It's just something he was trying to do that's different, and I respect that. It's not the worst thing we've ever seen, for God's sakes. I mean, like we've seen way worse, but yeah, it's just kind of like, all right, I get it. It's a cool visual, but ultimately, it's just nothing useful. It's just a prop that you carry around that's supposed to be adding to your character. Give us the history of the sword. I actually did enjoy how he gave the history of the sword, though, saying he named it Angela after his mother, and he talked about his mother like that actually, and I believe his story. So I do appreciate the effort on his part, and we've seen much more hokey, awful stuff than this. But I just think that Drew is in a place where he's kind of in a weird, funky place. Like he's in a spot where I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of cheers with Big E on the other side of the ring, but at the same time, you know, this isn't going to help him progress as a babyface. Like it's not something that you'd want to use to get him to that next level. He's just in a weird spot right now, and I think him going to SmackDown, getting a fresh start, is going to be the best thing ever for him.
Yeah, and like we said at the beginning of the show, I guess to make it come full circle here, I don't think we'll see Roman Reigns turning to babyface anytime in the near future, because I think Drew going to SmackDown kind of signals that in a lot of ways.
Yes, absolutely, because they want their babyface to, I guess, balance out the heel of Roman Reigns. And arguably, Roman Reigns is a much bigger star right now, and Drew doesn't have a whole lot of steam behind him. But yeah, that's exactly what that move told me. Now they could do a double turn. I think they'd be a bad move, but that's exactly what they indicated there with that move with Drew to SmackDown. So I guess let me ask you the ultimate question then. It's going to happen. When do you think it actually happens?
Drew versus Roman? Well,
not just that, and when Roman actually turns babyface. So both.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I guess the first one, them going against each other, in light of what you said tonight about The Rock being booked for another 12 to 18 months, I believe that they will collide at WrestleMania this year. They will be the main event, and maybe Drew even wins the Royal Rumble for the second time in 3 years. And as for Roman turning babyface, I mean, again, because The Rock is so far away, I think we're going to see probably Roman hold the belt until at least SummerSlam next year, and I think he's only going to turn babyface once he drops the title. So I would say at least until SummerSlam next year, and then maybe they could start planting seeds for him versus Rock at WrestleMania 39. And at this point, I really would not be surprised if it would be face versus face for him versus Rock, because of just how far away WrestleMania 39 is at this point, which really sucks, right? Like we've been saying for a year that this entire angle of the bloodline just screams for The Rock to come out and intervene. But I don't know if they could stretch it all the way until WrestleMania 39. So I think sometime within the next year, we'll see Roman Reigns turn babyface.
Yeah, and let me answer that also in kind here. I think... And again, this website could be totally wrong. We all know the big websites. It could be totally wrong, and The Rock does come in indeed this year. It's very possible, but I'm just going to go on the assumption that it's not going to be until 39. Yeah, look, I think that having The Rock and Roman doesn't have to be for the championship. That's a match that doesn't need the championship, and actually I'd want it to not have the championship because it's a weird spot to put WWE in and The Rock in and Roman in. We talked about this too. Like we can have The Rock win and then go on a weird quick 3-month run, 6-month run, or 12-month, but it could create a lot of resentment among fans that the person who won it should have been somebody they're building up, not just a returning part-time star. I think it could blow up in their face. So to me, I'd actually want the Rock Roman match not for the Universal Championship. So if we're going that road, then fine. WrestleMania 39, not for the championship, could just be babyface, or the brilliant heel Roman Reigns versus the babyface Rock. So that's where I think it happens as well, is next year in LA. Kind of a perfect spot for Rock, Mr. Hollywood. And then you have Roman and Drew happen. Yeah, it's probably going to happen this year at WrestleMania. However, knowing WWE and their impatience, I could also see the first match maybe of Drew and Roman happening at seriously, anytime between Survivor Series. Is December still TLC? Maybe it's still TLC. I hope they don't do that. But yeah, it could be at Rumble. I mean, it really could be at the Royal Rumble too. I just can't see WWE being creative enough, or have the patience, I should say, enough, the self-control to keep Drew and Roman completely separate for the next 6 months until they have their match at WrestleMania. I just don't see it. That'd be halfway through their draft cycle. I really don't see WWE being able to not want to press that button.
Well, because that's the other question, is who would Roman Reigns be facing off against between then and now, or now and then rather, because you have Brock at Crown Jewel. You assume it's going to be the same old Survivor Series, so it will be him versus Big E. And then you have TLC, Rumble, Elimination Chamber, and Fastlane. So what, are you going to go 4 pay-per-views without Drew and Roman crossing paths here? And who the hell would even be next in line to face Roman Reigns, unless you go back to the well with Brock Lesnar? But here's the question, is Brock Lesnar just going to go away and come back post-Royal Rumble in time for WrestleMania? Will he go over to Monday Night Raw, maybe to face off against Bobby Lashley like we spoke of earlier? And then you look at the SmackDown roster, and I got to say, I know they kind of had to make up for what happened over the past year, but they really gutted the SmackDown roster, especially in terms of baby faces. You know, you have maybe Jeff Hardy. Like, is that really going to sell as a challenger for Roman Reigns? Like Shinsuke Nakamura, he's the Intercontinental Champion. So, like, beyond Brock and Drew McIntyre, who could really step up to Roman Reigns as the transitional challenger like we saw with Kevin Owens last winter?
I really don't know. I mean, that is a hell of a question because of the lack of star power. And I honestly wouldn't mind if they did like a major trade from Raw to SmackDown, you know, maybe as a 1 or 2 time thing. I don't know why they've never done trades. I think the trades would be really fun to do, exciting. You know, you could announce that, hey, there's a massive, you know, earth-shattering trade that's been made. Tune in tonight to find out. You know, but that's probably what they'd have to do because the talent roster on the babyface side and star power wise is so thin. Like you said, yeah, Jeff, like they probably will end up going that road though. You know, Jeff is a legacy star. He does have star power, and he's been hinting at a character change on SmackDown. So I could actually, I know you joked about it, but they probably will go there for a month or so, a month or two, and chew up some time. So. Yeah, that's where they're going to have to go. It's not a big roster, which is why I think they will not be able to really make it more than a couple of months without Drew getting in the face of Roman Reigns and starting their program.
Honestly, like, this is just a scenario where I say to myself, why the hell is AJ Styles in a tag team? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. Like, this is this is yes. Yep. God.
And you know what? It's sad to say because I love his tag team with Omos, but you could have kept them together. Like, what if you had sent them over to SmackDown and you could have had like a 2-long pay-per-view feud where you have AJ Styles and Omos against the Bloodline? Like, for me, like, that's a perfect like program that could get you through TLC and the Royal Rumble, get them over as baby faces. I think AJ Styles and Omos would do fantastically as baby faces. I think people want to cheer for them. And imagine the type of matches those two would put on. They've worked together in the past, Roman and AJ, that is. We know that they're 2 excellent athletes. People love AJ Styles if he's babyface or heel. And Omos going toe-to-toe with the Usos on the outside. I don't know. I think that would have just been a perfect team to go over to SmackDown and be challengers against Roman Reigns and the Bloodline.
And imagine the moment where the Usos are cleared out of the ring and Omos steps to Roman Reigns and he's looking down at Roman Reigns. Like, I mean, not that I'm saying Omos should be the one to take the belt off him, but there are certain matchups and moments that you can create that I think are worthy of happening. And I don't know why AJ Styles is stuck in this tag team. But again, it's just like you said, I don't hate this tag team. It's not like I'm sitting there hoping they break up because they're awful. I just see the worth in AJ Styles at least having one more run, given he's at the end of his career, presumably, at least in his prime, and you'd need one good last run as a heel or babyface, but in this case, you'd need him as a babyface to face off against Roman Reigns. They have history together. There's stuff to draw from, and AJ, as you and I both said, is great as a heel or a face. So that to me is a match that should happen, and I believe it will. I really do believe somehow, some way, we will get AJ Styles and Roman Reigns. Look, WWE is going to be creative. They'll break rules. They'll do whatever they need to do to get Roman Reigns having the biggest match possible on that particular pay-per-view. And on some level, I understand that they do need to focus on Roman Reigns. Not all of their focus, but this is really one of the biggest factors for the SmackDown ratings being so good and people praising SmackDown. One of the reasons is that. So I honestly really wouldn't care so much about how they get Roman Reigns the next opponent. They just need him to get him that next babyface opponent. So
yeah, I agree with you. By any way necessary, they just have to make sure that he has good matchups, because I mean, you just can't have him go against, like, I don't know, the Viking Raiders in a handicap match. You know what I mean? At TLC, like just something stupid like that.
No, they cannot do that. And it would remind me of when Undertaker went against, who was it? The Big Show, and it was in a handicap match at WrestleMania. The A-Train at WrestleMania, and I'm like, yeah, they didn't have an opponent this year, and it just felt so. It just felt beneath, and no disrespect to Big Show specifically either, but I mean, or Lord Tensai, I mean A-Train, but how about
Prince Albert?
Or Prince Albert. Some of you listening probably don't know what the hell we're talking about, but anyway. That was a WrestleMania that felt to me like, hey, they didn't have anybody for Taker. They're trying to make two guys into one, and that did not happen. It felt very beneath Undertaker at that time to face both of them at once. But yeah, look, this whole thing with Roman turning babyface, it's going to happen. It's a matter of when, but to have enough opponents lined up for Roman Reigns over the next 6 months to get to WrestleMania is going to be interesting to watch. I know they just shuffled up the roster, but as you said, when you look at it, there's not a lot of star power on the babyface side.
Exactly. So, like you said, it's not even a question of if, it's when they're going to do this. And I know they're going to squeeze all the juice left possible out of this, and as they should. But eventually, you have to think that they will pull the trigger, just because they just need a main event level babyface at some point.
Yeah, exactly. And it's a great opportunity to build a new babyface. Like that's another thing is maybe they don't have to be established. Maybe Roman can laugh off somebody and they end up scaring Roman Reigns into almost winning the title, which helps elevate that talent. I'm not saying they should win, whoever that may be, maybe up and coming talent. It doesn't have to be necessarily an established star if it's on a B pay-per-view like TLC or something.
Yeah, exactly. I agree 100%.
So, well, I think we have gotten a lot of opinions out here on the table, and we've made a pretty good case as to, I think, why Roman Reigns should turn babyface. But I think you and I are in lockstep that it's not going to happen for at least maybe through WrestleMania, probably until SummerSlam of next year, that they even consider turning him babyface. The Rock obviously is out there, and we'll get to The Rock whenever he happens. We've been talking about The Rock for like a year and a half now of this this whole storyline happening, but it's probably another ways out. So anything else you'd like to share social media wise, or any final comments?
Well, yeah, as always, you can catch me on Twitter at @ADemarco25, and you can catch my Rivalries show that drops every Friday. And this past week, we took a little bit of a different approach with more of a comedic rivalry of Coach versus The Rock. So you guys can check that out if you want.
Yes, popcorn farts galore, I'm sure. Yes, yeah, that's those of you. If you haven't listened, go listen to that. The Rock versus the Coach it was comedic, but it was memorable, even though it wasn't truly the traditional rivalry. Yes, it was some fun, and the audio that's put in there just brings you back to, I guess, golden times, as they say. So, all right. Well, thanks so much for joining me, man. We'll be back next week, as we will be post Crown Jewel into Survivor Series season the next time that we talk.
Yeah, man. All really looking forward to bragging rights on steroids.
Oh, yeah, and brand supremacy. This is going to be great. Yeah, I can't
The one
wait.
time they go head to head a
Right.
year, although we just saw Roman on Monday Night Raw a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
except for the times that they just randomly do it with no explanation, or King of the Ring, or Royal Rumble, or WrestleMania. You know, outside of that, yeah, that's it. That's the one time a year. So can't wait. All right, man. Have a good night. And we'll be talking soon.
Yeah, man.
All
Talk
right.
soon. Bye.
Bye. Hey guys, so I don't do a whole lot of GoFundMe advertisements on this show, but when I find one that actually is, I think, worthwhile asking you guys to contribute, I share it with you. And this is one right now that I think it's worth letting you know about. And so let me give you the description of this, and I'll let you know where you can find this page, which is actually at GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. So that is the website. It's GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. So let me give you the backstory of this, and then you guys can go ahead and check it out. And this is the description of it. It says, have you ever witnessed an ambitious girl achieve her goals? Someone who had to grow up in adversity, but was able to turn her life around and fulfill her dreams. I am that girl. My name is Natalie. I'm a 28-year-old African-American girl from New Jersey, and I'm on my way to achieving my dreams. I want to share a bit of my backstory so you can see how important this campaign is to me. I lost my mother to health issues at 1 year old, and my father has not been in my life since I was 10. He was a drug addict, and his addiction didn't allow him to be present in my life. At 18, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and I had to leave college my freshman year because of it. The disease hindered me from being able to manage my life and sent me through all types of pain and suffering. With no parent, no role model, no support, and existing health problems, I was left to pave my own way in life. Despite the circumstances I've had to face and continue to face, I've always been very optimistic and had faith that I was capable of pursuing my dreams no matter what anyone thought or said. I was always that girl who had conviction in myself and my abilities. I knew I would persevere and be triumphant. Now at 28 years old, she's on her way to fulfilling her dreams. She launched a GoFundMe campaign to start her own cleaning business. And she's always been a great cleaner. She enjoys cleaning. It's a perfect business. It's really been a lifelong dream of hers. So her goal is this, guys, to boil it down. She'd like to launch her cleaning business, which will be based in South New Jersey. Her cleaning business will serve residential and commercial clients in the tri-state area. So I'd really, really recommend that you go check this out. Help out Natalie. Again, it's GoFundMe.com/help fulfill Natalie's dream. Go read the description for yourself and consider donating if you can. So if you guys don't know who Austin Cook is, he's a national U.S. champion in judo. He is a U.S. Open champion, a World Cup medalist, and he just launched his own YouTube channel. It's called Bad Boy Medicine. And right now there's a promo video up there. It's only a minute long and it's already got over 10,000 views. And there's going to be a lot more content coming. For example, he is going to be interviewing UFC champion Murilo Bustamante. So that's going to be going on the YouTube channel. Of course, on Instagram, you can also follow him at Bad Boy Medicine. Go check out the promo video as well. This is a YouTube channel that's going to grow very quickly, guys. Again, it's Bad Boy Medicine. So if you love combat sports and performance medicine, you're not going to want to miss this. So subscribe right now to Bad Boy Medicine.